Welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour. Of course, the #1 crypto show on Rumble. I never get tired of saying that. Powered by Solum Global with your hosts, George Ballantine, myself, Lance Miliaccio. We're the Crypto Bros, and we're bringing you this ultimate deep dive into everything crypto, blockchain, and decentralized finance. We don't care whether you're a seasoned investor or a newbie, just stepping into the world of digital assets for the very first time. All are welcome. Of course, we bring you expert insights, top interviews, exciting new projects, breaking news, and game-changing innovations shaping the future of digital assets. Because, on this show, in crypto, we trust, baby. George B., what's shaking bacon? We're early, Wednesday, 7 a.m. You obviously have a later start date than I do. I have to roll out of bed pretty early. What's going on, brother? How are you, man?
Are you blaming me for that or something?
No. Well,
I feel like it.
Right. I want to blame you. I mean, I want to blame shift on you a little bit. I mean, it feels easier.
I don't really care. How about that?
Yeah. Oh man, that's hurtful. That's a low blow, even coming from somebody like you,
a tough guy like you,
person you are,
tough guy, private contractor. You can learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
But
those are nice shoes you're wearing, George. They make those in leather.
Actually, I'm not wearing shoes.
I was just taking a little.
I know what you're trying to do. Ain't gonna work. Lance, read the shirt.
The boss.
That's
that's the problem. He does control the mute button.
I control everything.
It's too much power.
I control everything.
It's too much power for one man to have. Of course, listen, you've seen our regular show Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard on Rumble. You know what we do over there. And of course, this show is Wednesdays at 7 a.m. and Fridays at 7 a.m. If you like the show, take the live link. You're going to like this show because we're kind of blending here. I like the fact that we're going to be disclosing some ugliness in our own government. No surprise there. We do that anyway. But of course, it's a crypto topic because we want regulation, but we want honest regulation. We want transparency. And I don't know how much regulation we want in the decentralized finance world. That's the whole concept, right? Decentralized finance, not massive government control. So lots of people are concerned about that. But clear regulation that doesn't leave a weaponized system. Of course, we'll go into that in a minute. Let me jump out here for a second. If you'd like to sponsor the show, you can hit us up over at info@thebigmig.com. Not only are George and I crypto guys, and you guys know that, we are also gold and silver guys. We got in early. We've been telling you guys for a couple of years, silver is undervalued for a number of reasons. Really, it's the industrial demand. Gold was undervalued. Of course, you're seeing accumulation across the globe. Strategic reserves are being stockpiled in all sorts of countries. The reason I like this bar, it's a great invention by the guys over at Genesis Gold Group. This is the 62.2 gram prepper bar. They designed it. Of course, they did it for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, diversification. Of course, it's very unique ability for barter and trade. You can see there, you can break off a small piece, completely different than holding onto a 1 ounce coin in your pocket and a pair of tin snips. If your currency isn't working, they're almost $40 trillion in debt. I would tell you we're at risk on the US dollar globally. But the prepper bar in stock comes with an assay report. This is your solution. Of course, you always want to have a backup plan. We always talk about FUBAR, snafu. What's going to happen to the US economy? Nobody really knows for sure. Yes, I love what Donald Trump's doing, but that does not necessarily mean that we are out of the woods yet. I haven't heard a solution for the Federal Reserve banking system, but having some gold and silver on hand is how you protect you and your family. Stick it in a sock drawer, safety deposit box. Keep it in the rafters of your basement, but keep it away from the government. That's my idea. Of course, you can head over to thebigmigbar.com. All caps prepper. There's your promo code, PREPPR. 10% off on the silver and 5% off on the gold. I have to tell you, this isn't financial advice. I believe there's a lot of upside left on silver yet. So gold's up to you to figure out for yourself. But I'm going to tell you that I don't think those silver stackers out there are unhappy about the current results. And I do believe there's going to be a massive shortage for a number of reasons, like the Samsung EV battery technology. Thebigmigbar.com. Head over there. George gives you a QR code. He makes it easy. Even when he's giving me a hard time, he's still doing the work behind the scenes. Thebigmigbar.com.
I don't give you a hard time, bro. Stop it.
And you threw me off. Where's the jingle? George likes to do his little jingle. What happened, bro? What happened to the jingle?
Break me off a piece of that prepper bar.
There it is. I knew it. Were you trying to do the delay so I would actually say something?
No, I wasn't going to do it, but since you cried wolf about it. All right, man.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. So look, we've got a great guy backstage. His name is Joby Weeks. This has got to be, I've talked about Lawfare. This has got to be the craziest DOJ Lawfare story, but I'm titling it the DOJ crypto lawfare story ever told. It's absolutely in the cryptos hemisphere. We've seen some crappy stuff that Gary Gensler and the rest of those jackasses did over there at the SEC, but this one goes beyond that. When I looked at the details of this story, I could shake my head. I'm not surprised. I understand the criminality of a weaponized government myself. But look, he's a Bitcoin pioneer, global traveler. He's been to more countries than I have, which is actually shocking. A libertarian activist. He promoted Bitcoin early, visiting over 100 countries, became a key figure in BitClub Network 2014 to 2019, which was a Bitcoin mining cooperative. He presented it as legitimate in 2019, and it was legitimate, in my opinion. He was indicted in the U.S. versus Goettsche. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Goettsche, et al. Case, accused of participating in a $722 million crypto fraud scheme via misleading investor solicitations. I personally think that's a bunch of garbage, but we'll talk about it. He pled guilty in 2020 because, of course, that's what they do. Weaponized sentence. You can get a year and go home, see your children, but you got to plead guilty, or you can take 5 years and you get a not guilty plea, but you're going to do 5 years in federal prison, which under that system, you're going to do 83 or 5% of your sentence, even if you get RDAP or all the rest of it. You're still going to do a major amount. Then, of course, you're going to get a 3-year tail probably. So you're going to be on probation. He's been on home confinement longer than anybody I've ever heard of.
Not even arrested.
Speedy trial rights. It sounds like speedy trial rights. You just wipe your ass with him in this case. I don't know if he's ever been officially arrested. I don't even know the details.
He hasn't been arrested.
That's unbelievable. All right.
I got arrested.
Oh, you did? Never mind.
I'm going to say this straight up.
Tony Robbins, bro.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so he did get arrested. He was at Tony Robbins. Of course, they couldn't wait to do it there. The guy would have self-surrendered. He was in dialogue with them throughout the entire process, opened up the books, opened the rest up. But what does the DOJ do? They want newsworthy events, right? They got to storm Mar-a-Lago. They got to storm Tony Robbins. They got to go in there acting. But meanwhile, you take a guy like Christopher Wray or John Brennan, they would give them self-surrender, no doubt about it. You go in the back door, no mugshots released, no nothing. But when the DOJ comes after a regular citizen, they want to shove it right up the old sphincter. You know how they do it, because that's what the DOJ does. All right, let's get him in here. There's no reason to leave him backstage.
All right. Welcome to the Crypto Power Hour, Joby Weeks.
Hey, guys.
How long you been on house arrest?
6 years.
6 years. Yeah. I just want everybody to take that.
The ankle bracelet on, see?
All right. Yeah. I want everybody to take that into perspective. His wife has been suffering for 6 years because he's locked in the damn house with her. All right? You gotta take the whole family. It's not just him. They're all suffering.
But, I mean, it is a family torn apart.
They made me do this whole third-party custodian. They're afraid I'm going to flee to Mexico or something. So 24/7 guard watching over me at all times for 6 years. I mean, I've gone through like 7 third-party custodians, and after a while, they just give up. They're like, no.
Well, you know something about that, which is interesting, because of course they want to portray you to be a flight risk because you're so well traveled. They will allege in their filings or their pre-sentence reports or whatever the hell they do that somehow Joby Weeks, he's dangerous because he's been to 100 countries, not because of your global leadership or the fact that you've brought technology to the United States or the fact that you've been an innovator your whole life. Of course, that makes you dangerous. Meanwhile, a senator, a congressman, a congressional, a department head, somebody that is sophisticated, that has lots of money, that probably has money in offshore accounts. That person, no, he's never a flight risk. They're going to let him have a self-surrender bond. They're going to let him self-surrender. They're going to give him a bond immediately. That's how they operate. But in your case, this is the extreme end of the spectrum. Speedy trial rights are very clear here in the United States. They're not supposed to do that. But what I want to talk about here, I want to warm up.
Listen, they always create these loopholes to violate the Constitution. You have a right to bear arms, shall not be infringed, and then unless you're a felon, you have a right to speedy trial unless it's a complex case, and it's an ends of justice thing. Or
tell that to the J6s.
Fail unless you're a flight risk, right? So they always make these little loopholes for them to, violate the Constitution.
They do it over and over again. People don't understand unless they've been on the other side of the legal system and investigated it. They think that we have a Department of Justice. You'll see in the thumbnail I created for you, that I did in the promotion. Maybe you already saw it. I did the Department of Injustice.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, anybody that hasn't faced the other side of this doesn't recognize it. If you're a guy like Roger Stone or Mike Flynn, you understand. Roger Stone, they hit him at 3 a.m. CNN's there. They drag him out in his boxers. The whole thing's ridiculous because, of course, newsworthy events. If you go after Donald Trump, you go on the front gate of Mar-a-Lago. You have armed guys everywhere. You go through the guy's underwear, his wife's underwear drawer, his son's bedroom. But that's what they do, right? But
his bail was something like $400 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, ridiculous, right? And of course, high-profile guy. Where the hell is he going to hide in the world? But let's talk about this. I want to just give the lead up. You can give me the Cliff Notes version, but let's talk about the lead up because when you go out to look at the media, if anybody didn't have you through this interview, they would go to the media and say, "Oh, this guy stole a bunch of people's crypto. He deserves what he." And of course, we know that media those are pre-prepared statements that are divested across MSNBC and CNN. Let's talk about the truthful details. Give me the Cliff Notes of how it started to you being on the longest home detention in world history.
Well, I was born at a very young age in Colorado. And my dad was a history and economics teacher. And so he had me read Atlas Shrugged. And so I learned about John Galt and Ayn Rand and Hank Rearden and Francisco and Dagny Taggart and everybody. And then I read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island and learned about the Federal Reserve Bank. And my great-grandfather was Secretary of War under Presidents Harding and Coolidge. He was actually on the Monetary Commission that passed the Federal Reserve Act. And his fund, Hornblower and Weeks, bankrolled Boeing and Lockheed Martin and Bank of Boston, stuff like that. So they were bankers, East Coast, Boston. The bridge that goes across the Charles River to Harvard is actually the John Wingate Weeks Bridge. His son, Sinclair Weeks, was Secretary of Commerce under Eisenhower. So I grew up in Massachusetts, although we moved back in Colorado for high school. And so I grew up in Christian school. Dad decided not to go into business, become a history and economics teacher. And so I was ingrained with Austrian economics. And so that's where I got passionate about gold and silver, like you were just talking about. And we bought a mint. I was involved with the Liberty Dollar movement, and we made the Ron Paul silver coins when he was running for president in 2008. And did the Ron Paul blimp and the Ron Paul limo. I took that to 30 states and all the debates. I became a national delegate to the convention. And Ron Paul said, start focusing at the local level. I only made friends with two politicians, Dennis Kucinich and Ron Paul. So because I didn't really like politics, I wanted to be more into business. And Bitcoin came out, and I got it at 85 cents. I was already involved in these barter networks because we were minting hundreds of millions of gold and silver coins hundreds of millions of dollars worth. We started minting silver when it was $4 an ounce.
Wow.
It started a time-back currency called Mountain Hours and Mile High Hours and Aloha Hours. It started to spread because time is money. And then Bitcoin came out. So I understood it because I was already on the Pirate Bay, and I understood how BitTorrents worked. And so I thought, oh, this is a currency that runs on the BitTorrent network. That's clever. Mm-hmm. And so I figured out how the Tor worked and got on to, get my first Bitcoin on the Silk Road. And so anyways, when somebody brought to me mining, talking about these machines that print money, I was intrigued, setting up nodes and stuff like that. I wasn't too computer savvy, but I was always like a sales guy. I like to sell stuff. And I ended up at Necker Island with Richard Branson, who introduced me to these guys that run a company called BitFury. Val, George, and Nico, they're awesome, great guys. They make the chips, these computer chips that hash away the 256 algorithm for the SHA, to mine Bitcoin.
Right.
And so, I met the guys and I wanted to buy some equipment, and they were like, we don't sell equipment. Why would we sell you a machine that prints money when we could keep the machine and print money ourselves? And I'm like, I guess you got a point there. So I continued to harass them for like 6 months, probably once a week. I was asking them, can I buy a machine that prints money? Can I buy one? They kept telling me no. And they say the fortune's in the follow-up, and I kept on harassing them. And they said, sure, we'll sell you equipment. And I said, well, thank you. How much is it? And they're like, it's $1 million. And I'm like, I don't have $1 million. What are you talking about? They're like, well, go find $1 million. And I had heard about a club called BitClub that had been going for about 16 months or so. Mm-hmm. And They were doing mining, but like small little people could be involved. For $500, you could start mining, and you'd buy the equipment. But instead of taking delivery of it, you could take delivery if you wanted, but they'd host it in the data centers for you, and then you just every day you'd get whatever was mined to your wallet. And I was intrigued, so I signed up to become a member of BitClub, and they were doing some leadership trip in Iceland where you could go see the data center and go to the Blue Lagoon and meet the owners of BitClub. And I wanted to, do some due diligence and vet the guys. So I ended up in the Blue Lagoon with these guys. I checked out.
What year is that, Joby? What year is that?
2016.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
Something like that. So I'm out there, and it's real. They got big data centers full of computer hardware equipment, and they're buying from a company called Bitmain out of China. And they were paying something like $300,000 a petahash or something. And I was like, is that a good price? He's like, well, that's all. They're the only, player in town that sells equipment. And I said, well, you know what? I met these guys called Bitfury down at Necker Island, and they might be able to give you a better price. Let me call them up and ask. And so I called them up, and they said, yeah, we'll beat the price. I said, perfect. So I started brokering deals, and Bitmain would do a bid, and then Bitfury would underbid, and then Bitmain would come back and lower bid, and we got it all the way down to 150,000 a petahash, which saved the members millions of dollars.
Wow!
But I was just brokering lots of sales. They ended up
nice.
Saying, hey, set up some data centers for us, and I ended up building the biggest Bitcoin mine on earth. At the time, it was 75 megawatts. Now they're throwing 100 megawatts up every 3 months. It's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy. Even Trump's facility right now, massive.
Well, it's interesting, too, because Trump's facility, American Bitcoin, partnered with HUD 8. HUD 8 was a company that Bitfury spun off. I became a shareholder of Bitfury with the guys, and they spun off HUD 8, and Eric Trump partnered with HUD 8. That whole entire data center is full of HUD 8 equipment. And then they also spun off another company called Cypher. Those are both billion-dollar publicly traded companies. It's so funny because Eric is now, with a billion-dollar company that I was involved in creating, and I'm still stuck on house arrest. It's not fair.
Yeah, because you were a pioneer. You got in early. You didn't get as early as 2009, but you got in pretty early. I can't imagine
I got in at 85 cents. So I got my first 250 Bitcoin for $200.
Yeah. Have you held on to that?
I would have bought more.
No,
of course not. The government raided the Silk Road and stole the money and auctioned it off to Tim Draper. In fact, the agents that stole the money that never actually gave it to the government, those guys went to jail for 6 years because it was a heist. They raided the Silk Road. They took the Bitcoin. They didn't even give it to the government. And the same thing has happened in this case. Where did the Bitcoin go that you guys just stole? I mean, they say that.
I want to get to
Lance,
that.
what do I always say when the government does Bitcoin with seizures of crypto? How do we know if some crypto ain't slipping out to somebody else's wallet? We always say that.
There's no doubt.
And here's
no
proof.
Doubt. But let's track the story, just because I don't want the audience to lose, because they haven't necessarily watched the documentary. And by the way, a documentary about Joby is up on our documentary channel on Rumble. Go follow that channel. George, what's the title of that channel? The Big Mig documentary, or how's it titled?
The Big Mig documentary, Lance.
Yeah, go check it out and make sure.
It's a good one. It's called Free Joby. It's 20 minutes long. You'll love it.
You want to know something?
It's a great documentary.
I got to say this. Every time I hear Free Joby, don't take this wrong way. It makes me think of Free Willy. I don't know why, but it does. And it's almost like the same thing, like you trying to free Willy from the captivity.
Well, the guy that made it is Mickey Willis, and I asked him what should we call the movie. He's like, well, Free Roger seemed to work for Roger Ver because Mickey made his documentary too. So I said, okay, Free Joby. That sounds simple enough.
It does, right?
All right, keep going, Joby. Keep giving us the rest of the story.
Well, so what happened was, it boomed. I mean, BitClub raised $700 million. They were like, I think they raised more. I was under the impression they at least did $1 billion. That's why I say BitClub was the fastest company or private membership association. It wasn't actually.
But you were a broker for BitClub. You didn't own.
I was just a vendor selling them equipment.
A vendor. Gotcha. Okay, go ahead. I just want the audience to get this clear because I want to make sure that they don't try to make a crossover nexus that isn't accurate. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, they're treating me like I created the whole thing and I ran the system and handled the money. I didn't do any of that stuff. But I did love the idea, and I liked BitClub. I liked the guys that ran it, And I didn't think that they were doing anything wrong or illegal. And so, that's why I signed up my mom and my dad and my cousins and my brother and my whole family. It's like, if I was, you cannot have a criminal intent to rip off your own mother. Come on.
No doubt.
The point is, it just boomed. They raised over $700 million, the government says. And with that money, they built these big data centers and mined over 92,000 Bitcoins and more than 500,000 Ethereum, which is worth over $10 billion today. And so that's the big question is, how do you get in trouble for turning $700 million into $10 billion? Everybody gets rich. And then instead of going on the cover of Time magazine, you get thrown in jail for that. It's crazy. There's no victims, no injured party. No one was standing to sue. The government made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, that's the nature of the Admiralty maritime jurisdiction, that even the fact that they're supposed to be a damaged party, right? You're supposed to be in a common law, jurisdiction. You're not, because of course the nexus is the Commerce Clause. They're claiming, in your case, I see that they're claiming that you committed the act of wire fraud and to sell unregistered securities, which was standard for Gensler. He always wants to treat crypto as a security. And yet the law doesn't mention crypto in any of these laws. They kind of take the statutes like they normally do. And instead of the statute being focused as a diamond, right, that it points to that one crime, they like to do the reverse diamond, that it funnels out the other way. Oh, we'll just duck everything in there because, of course, everything that's sold that has any kind of value, the SEC should oversee.
Well, they're
proven in the Ripple case that's not true.
Well, Chevron deference and everything. Listen, where did they get the authority to regulate a Japanese guy telling his Korean friend to join BitClub?
I know.
Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. They didn't use dollars. I mean, there was over 1 million members from 100 different countries that they destroyed. The government came in, stole all the equipment, stole everybody's money, and then they tried to stick it on me. And I'm like, wait a second. What? And so they kidnapped me over in Tony Robbins in West Palm Beach. Deny me bail, deny me a trial. I wouldn't fork over, my private keys. So they got mad. And next thing you know, I'm on Con Air jet being flown all over the country from jail to jail to jail to jail.
Let me stop you there. For the audience, jail hopping by the DOJ, the BOP, and U.S. Marshals in internal communications, they call it diesel therapy. The reason they call that diesel therapy is they separate you from your family. They separate you from the loved ones. You can't get visits. You can't see your children. And they want to teach you a lesson because you are not willing to go along with whatever their narrative is. And you're just going to go ahead and take the plea agreement. Normally, that's when they threaten the superseding indictment. Well, if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't take this deal, we're going to hit him with a superseding indictment. Besides the diesel therapy, which is moving you all around the country and keeping you away, which also disconnects you from your legal paperwork, because a lot of times it gets lost in transport, it just disappears. How much of did they threaten you with a superseding indictment when they asked you to plea out?
Well, my lawyers came to me, which I wasted $5 million on lawyers that are horrible.
Yeah.
Anyways, they came to me and they were like, all right, so they're not going to give you bail because you're a flight risk, and they're not going to give you a trial because it's a complex case.
You had no priors, correct?
No, I have no criminal record.
No priors, no criminal record, no criminal other conspiracies or any kind of investigations. Here's a guy that was a family man. He had a residence in, you were in Miami at that time or in Florida?
No, I was living in Mexico.
You were living in Mexico, and they claim that you are this massive flight risk, right? Of course, no reason to deny you bail, but that's what they do, because if you get out, you can more effectively fight your case because you're,
of course.
Yeah, the evergreen retainer. Yeah, the evergreen retainer that the lawyers love to do. Oh, Joby, we're gonna have to keep that retainer evergreen because we've got a lot of motions working. We got a lot of action with the government. Yeah, all this scam. They built you out of
trying to get my retainer back because I fired the
ineffective assistance of counsel. Massive is what the standard is in most legal. AI is proving that just through narrow investigations. But go ahead, take it. You get arrested. They come to you with the plea. Did your lawyer start telling you they're going to hit you with a superseding indictment if we don't take this sweetheart deal?
They threaten all that stuff. And I'm like, they could say I murdered someone. It doesn't mean I did. I don't care if they indict me for murder. Let me see a jury. Well, you're not going to get a jury for like at least 5 or 6 years because it's a complex case. I'm like, so you're not going to give me bail or a trial? I mean, if you're not going to give me bail, you got to give me a trial. If you're not going to give me a trial, you got to give me bail. You can't just take away.
That's what the speedy trial right allegedly says. But of course, the DOJ, for the audience, that's what they use, the complex case. They will file a document. Well, this is a complex case, Your Honor. We're going to have to get them to waive the speedy trial right because there's way too much involved here. Too complicated to present our side of the case.
Oh, I never waived my speedy trial. The judge did an ends of justice.
Oh, yeah.
The judge is waiving my rights, right to a trial.
The ends of justice for who, Joby? Was it for you or the
government?
DOJ?
The government hasn't been able to put together a case in 6 years. You'd think, you know how long it takes to go to high school. You got
the ends of justice.
Sophomore year, junior year, senior year, proms and homecomings and all.
But that's what you get with many in the judiciary. You get in front of a bad judge and he is biased and he's got absolute immunity to protect him and he's got a lifetime appointment. So he can basically tell Joby, you're a piece of shit. I'm not letting you out. Go ahead and file whatever you want. And of course, you have little to no recourse at that point because the ends of justice must be served because this is a system of justice. But go ahead, Joby, take it from there.
Well, it's everything but the system of justice.
Exactly.
It's horrible what they do. And my poor little daughter was learning to walk and talk, without me. They didn't know where I was. For 11 months, they did this to me, this diesel therapy. And so they said, listen, if you insist that 2 + 2 is 4, they're going to keep you here for 5 years. Or if you admit 2 + 2 = 5, they'll let you go home tomorrow. And I said, well, that would be lying. And they said, well, everybody's an actor. They're acting this, acting that, right? And so I'm like, okay, I can go home tomorrow, but I can reverse the plea when I get home as long as I do it before sentencing. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, perfect. 2 + 2 is 5. And so they say, great, have a nice day. You can go home and be with your family now. I'm like, perfect. So I get home and then I rescind the autograph on the plea statement, making the contract void because anything with force, fraud, or coercion is void ab initio, they call it. So now I've just been battling them. I filed a lawsuit suing 6 judges, 12 prosecutors, the SEC, the IRS, the FBI, 50 agents, a bunch of clerks. And I'm suing for $22.2 billion or 222,222 Bitcoins. My favorite numbers too.
And it's a great number, especially in your case. But, that's the tricky part, right? Here you are, you're being held on the longest, detention, right? They're giving you drug tests twice a week, which normally the drug test by now would stop. They wouldn't be going on for 6 years. They're buzzing your ankle monitor every hour on the hour to act like somehow you have to hit the button to be in proximity where you don't get any sleep. In my opinion, that's additional, obviously punitive and compensatory because I think it's harmful. It's harmful to your family. It's harmful to your children.
Well, it makes my whole leg go numb. Every 3 months, I have to rotate from my left leg to my right leg, et cetera, because my nerves are being damaged. Yeah. After 6 years of wearing a bracelet that's beaming God knows what frequencies into my leg, it's
now,
enough.
Are you under
my maximum sentence?
Are you under BOP supervision or the probation department? Who's alleged? It's the court.
Trial under the court. Yeah.
Okay. So
they've tried to bail violate me. Get this. They've tried to bail violate me 7 times.
Yeah. Probably for a drug violation that you never did.
Well,
right?
one for a drug violation, which they made up. They have no evidence. They have no tests. They have no chain of custody. I'm like, prove that I failed drugs. Nothing. I had to go take a hair test and prove it myself just to,
Good for you.
The judge knows that the government's full of it. And so the judge keeps denying them their attempts to constantly try to throw me back in jail for a bail violation. One time I stopped by the Outback Steakhouse for a steak on the way home from the airport. I got home an hour early, but because I stopped for a steak on the way home to have a steak with my father after 11 months of not eating meat, they literally tried to throw me in jail for that. It was the same day of release violation.
Yeah, you can see why that having a steak would, exceed the rules of your probation. And see, that's what I mean. For the audience that's never been through this, this system sounds insane. You would claim that Joby is creating this, but if you talk to anybody that's dealt with this system, if you talk to a Roger Stone or a Mike Flynn or a George Papadopoulos or anybody else that's been investigated or anybody else that's faced incarceration, the weaponization of the system is excessive. Now, that it's incredible in your case that your attorney hasn't made, and I don't know who your new attorney is. I don't know if you're filing yourself. You would think that at this point, he would be moving it maybe even past the district court, because I would have to believe that.
Oh,
Now,
definitely.
do you have the same judge, by the way?
Judge Checky is the judge, and Judge Hammer is the magistrate.
Yeah.
And Checky doesn't move. She just sits there and does absolutely nothing for years, and keeps giving the government more and more continuances. They're on their 32nd continuance, begging her to constantly kick it down the road. We've gone through 12 prosecutors. Listen, Checky took almost a year. I had to file my own. I fired all the lawyers, and I filed a writ of mandamus to the Third Circuit Court.
I know the writ of mandamus.
Yeah, I filed that. Oh, dude, I'm writing all my own motions now. From docket 396 to 541 so far, I've been peppering the docket.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The writ of mandamus is one of your only levels of relief, because, again, it's really your only option, because you can't file a Rule 60B. You can't file a rule of habeas corpus, because, of course, you're in a weird kind of, middle ground, right? You're
in purgatory.
Yeah, it is purgatory. I was thinking of that word. I couldn't remember it, but you are in purgatory, but that's the system, right? They have created all these loopholes. We'll have to connect more after the show, but it's terrible, right? Let me ask you, you have, you're filing right now. How are they treating the documents you're filing? Is the judge immediately ruling procedural?
Oh, no. Now, Judge Hammer does. Judge Hammer, I think, kind of likes me. I don't know. I mean, he keeps denying the government's attempts to, throw me back in jail. And he seems to answer quickly, and he seems pretty, he denied me bail for a year, but other than that, I hate to, I don't really know, because here's the deal. I'm trying to, I sued them all, served them through the postal rule under RICO, the Hobbs Act, the Tucker Act, the Sherman Antitrust Act. I'm going after the bonds, the pensions, the home. Right. I don't know if they really are taking me seriously, but I'm using precedent. I'm using law. I mean, Trafficant versus Tampa says you get 1.8 million bucks a day for every day that you're unlawfully under incarceration.
Really? Wow.
Trafficant versus the city of Tampa. The guy was getting paid 25,000 bucks every 15
That was
minutes.
a state case, correct?
Trafficante?
Yeah, I guess when you're suing the government, you can't do like treble damages and punitive damages and all that.
Well, you can get punitive and compensatory, but it's hard to get. Like I said, even if you get dismissal with vacatur, dismissal with prejudice, in your case, of course, the statute of limitations has far expired. They would have a hard time. Who knows what evidence is available? The seizures, the chain of custody sounds awful.
They lost the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I told them,
I doubt they lost the Bitcoin.
Well,
somebody has those drives. And the question is, did they have the seed phrases?
Well, I was never given back any seed phrases. I'm told, listen, I've been requesting for my assets to be returned, because there's no asset forfeiture in these cases. In these cases. So they have to give them back. And they put in writing, the prosecutors put in writing that they're going to send me my assets back. And 3 months later, they don't. I ask again. 3 months later, they don't. I ask again. They say they will. They don't.
That would seem to me to be criminal conversion. If the court has said, if the court has made a ruling that they agree, okay, well, the government is not opposing giving the assets back, you have to return the assets. I would say that it's time to file a case with the FBI, file a complete case with a complaint saying that the Department of Justice has agreed to give back these assets. They're not giving them back. That's criminal conversion. So there's a theory there that you could do that. The problem with rest, when you get relief for an unlawful incarceration. And George, I don't know, we have to take a break, don't we?
Yeah, at some point.
Do you want to take a break now?
Well, I have to do something else, but
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's do what you got to do, George, because I'm all about George Valentine right now. Because Joby and I, we could probably talk forever. George, go, buddy.
My guy isn't going to show up till 6:35 now, so I've got.
It doesn't matter. Whoever's going to show up, we got to wait now, bro. We're like the DOJ. I kidnap people too. I don't want them off the show until I'm done.
That's right. We're unlawfully detaining you, Joby, until the show's over.
I'm
George, go, buddy.
I got to mute you guys because I know you guys are going to talk. All right. Guess what, everybody? For those, what if your only resolution this year was to get better sleep? Just imagine how much energy you'd have. You'd handle stress better. Pretty much all your goals would be easier, right? And that's why the smart way to start 2026 is with CB Distillery. Get this, over 90% of CBD customers say they sleep better with CBD. That's tough to beat. And when you sleep better, everything feels easier. And CBD Distillery has options for more than just sleep. Solutions for stress relief, mood and pain after workouts. I'm going to get that for Lance. You can shop by benefits so it's easy to find what you're looking for. Listen, when I had knee surgery, I was using the cream, CBD cream. And it helped with the pain so much. Like, I didn't even take narcotics. None. I was taking this and some Tylenol. That's about it. But everything from CB Distillery is premium quality, third-party tested, and free of artificial dyes or fillers. And they have over 2 million happy customers and 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're ready to start the year off right, go to cbdistillery.com. Use my code BIGMIG for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code BIGMIG. You get 25% off. cbdistillery.com. Now, specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. Also, I got the QR code right next to me. Save it to your photo files. But don't do it now. Do it later after the show because we got so much to cover. Lance, I'm going to bring it back before you take us out.
Yeah. Of course, it is what it is, George, but that's it, buddy. We've got to take a short break here on the Big MIG Crypto Power Hour. Of course, the Crypto Power Hour powered by Solum Global. We'll be right back with Joby Weeks, George Ballantine, Lance Miliaccio. Don't forget, while we're on the break, take the live link, share it far and wide. Let's make sure we get eyeballs on this. Maybe dump it into Pam Bondi's feed and say, you know what I'm saying? Pam, what's up with this bullshit case?
That's your first mistake right there. She's fucking useless anyway. All right, we'll be right back.
She'll probably be busy doing an interview on Fox
News.
We gotta
go.
You can't get her off of there.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever. Visit CSPOA.org and join the Sheriff's Citizens Posse today. Make a difference. Stand for freedom. That's CSPOA.org. Your country, your fight, your future.
What if you could predict your financial future? And what if you could trade on it? Introducing Block Trust IRA. Assets are protected with military-grade security, offline cold storage, and $200 million in insurance. Visit BlockTrustIRA.com to book your free consultation and ask how to claim up to $2,500 in deposit bonuses today. Bitcoin changed the game. AI changes the strategy.
Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation.
Forged through rigorous training and honed by the finest instructors on earth. These canine units serve beside our nation's warriors as they fight to preserve what we cherish. When these warriors complete their duty, the Warrior Dog Foundation provides them with a home deserving of the service they've given us all. At our state-of-the-art kennels, they receive rehabilitation and care suitable for heroes, because that's what they are. Be a part of giving them a future today. Visit warriordogfoundation.org.
All right, welcome back to the Crypto Power Hour, powered by Solon Global. Here with your host, Lance Migliaccio, George Bounty, and our special guest, Joby Weeks, Free Joby. Now, Joby, I want to go over, because you guys were going so fast for our audience, I'm going to break it down a little simpler here. So, Lance, hold that thought, because I know you got lots of thoughts. What exactly did you get charged with?
Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit the sale of an unregistered security.
Okay, anybody else charged in this case besides you?
There's 5 of us in the same quote-unquote conspiracy.
5. All right. And now going on 6 years, you're on house arrest. You've asked for trial, and they still denying you trial?
Going on 7 years. They just got
7
an
years.
extension, a continuance till December 2026.
You know, when that happens, you should send everybody, including the judiciary, a happy anniversary card. You should have cards for everybody and send them out. Happy anniversary. It's been 7 years violating my speedy trial right. I just wanted to say happy anniversary to you.
So what do they keep saying when you want to go to trial? What does the prosecutor say? They're not ready still?
Well, they're all pissed that I reversed the plea, right? So they're trying to beg the judge not to recognize it. But the judge has to. So the judge denied, but then I did a reconsideration motion and pointed out all the errors. It was like the government wrote the opinion of the judge and gave it to her to sign. I don't think the judge even wrote it. It sounded just like the government. So, and she or whoever wrote it, the AI, just messed up all over the place. And it's interesting because they keep filing the wrong stuff on the docket. I don't know if you remember the Bible story about Gideon, where God had the army fight itself rather than Gideon's army have to go and do the battle. I mean, the judge files something onto the docket that's completely incorrect, but has nothing to do with this case. It's on a completely different case. And then the government, they're
right
like attacking
there.
themselves. I'm like, these guys are like elementary school. Like,
you would file a motion to strike or a motion for correction, because that is sua sponte. Go ahead, George. I didn't mean to step on you there.
No.
So what happened was
something. I want to hear him finish.
They dropped the wire fraud case charge, and they wanted me to eat a tax charge. And so I was like, I don't care what I eat. I'm just going to reverse this when I get out. So I just said I was guilty to everything, whatever they put in front of me. And then when I got out and got back with my family, I did a rescission of the autograph on the plea statement. And now, I'd love to go to trial, but I don't think they can put together a trial. No, they don't have any witnesses. They've
also lost their leverage, their criminal leverage. The Department of Justice, when they probably at some point said, oh, well, we should hit them with a superseding indictment. The problem is the statute of limitations is also expired from the alleged basis for what their claims are. Because the other thing that they haven't been able to prove in your case that I don't see anywhere is the mens rea. If you don't have the intent to commit a crime, if they manipulate the law, ex post facto, and they go ahead and say, oh, well, we're going to apply this SEC statute that has to do with securities, and we're going to apply it to crypto. They've already had rulings now since then, in the Ripple case, that crypto isn't a security.
Oh, yeah,
so
the Todd Blanche memo says to throw all these cases out. You bring up mens rea or knowledge. I wrote all my motions as a complaint with all the felonies the government is committing.
Yeah.
And then when they read it, now they have knowledge, and I file it as a complaint. So if you complain to an officer of government and they do nothing about it, they become accessories after the fact. It's called a misprison of a felony. And so
I'm very familiar with that.
So then 3 more prosecutors come on, they read what I wrote, and then they quit. And then 3 more prosecutors come on.
Let me explain to the audience. Let me stop you just so they know. So for the audience, misprision is a felony. So if the DOJ knows they're committing a crime against Joby Weeks and they don't notify the courts, opposing counsel, and they say, hey, this might be a crime, just going to make you aware of it, when you find out if George is going to rob a liquor store and he comes and talks to me about the robbery, and I know it's going to be a felony. He's already bought the vehicle. He's bought a gun. And I know about it. And if I don't report George, I become a co-conspirator. In the case of the federal government, one of the most dangerous things for judges and Department of Justice is to become part of the conspiracy against Joby Weeks. If they're violating his right, obstruction of justice, Title 18, 241, 242, Title 15, 1512, if they're violating his rights and they've committed anything that conspires, like, for example, the fact that nobody knows what happened to Joby Weeks' Bitcoin and they're not returning it, that is considered misprisions of a felony. And in fact, they should be bringing criminal charges because that stands outside of qualified and absolute immunity because you're beyond the protections that are ordered because it's not in your normal process.
Yeah, they avail themselves. Their immunity is gone. Acts of Congress can't protect against treason and fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, so everyone's like, oh, judges are immune. No, not under RICO, not under the Hobbs Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act and the Tuckers Act, So they're all quitting. They're jumping this thing like rats.
Oh, you can't blame them. Why wouldn't they? And that's why they're not letting you out because the civil claim is legitimate and large enough that they have a major problem and they have no idea how to fix it. So the best thing is you just pass the buck. You're better off to go into private practice.
My solution's pretty simple. You guys keep all the Bitcoin and all the $1 billion worth of equipment you stole. I don't even know who's got it. And they've probably been using it and hashing away for the last 6 years. I mean, we had full data centers full of equipment. Who's collecting all the Bitcoin over the last 5 years? That was making $5 million a day.
Yeah.
$5 million a day. Who's been collecting that in the last 6 years?
Yeah.
All right. So keep it all. I don't care. Maybe the agent stole it. Who knows? Give me tax credits instead. I'll take $22 billion in tax credit. And then I'll just sell those for 90 cents on the dollar. And then I'll go bankroll all the companies that I know about that actually will make America great again. And we'll call it a day. So that's
listen, I think it's genius on your part.
Nothing.
Damn, Lance, we got to get this out there. He's going to bankroll the crypto power, the big media.
Bankroll all awesome project that promised to make America great again. Because that's all I want to do. My family, they were officers in the American Revolution. My family created this country. They were came up with the Mayflower. Like, I want to see, it hurts my heart to see what's happening, especially, all this stuff coming out on Obama and Brennan and Clapper.
Have you demanded, let me ask you this, when you filed your motions, I'm sure you've demanded additional discovery. You've claimed, of course, that they've hidden exculpatory evidence, which is a Brady violation. It's
Giglio and Brady. They don't. They respond with silence.
So when you file a motion and they are they responding within the 21 days or do they just ignore the motion?
They ignore.
So how is that not a demand for de facto default on the judicial record?
They're totally in default. All I have to do is find a judge to sign the demand.
So the judge, when you say this is a de facto default, you have to rule on this now. Do you ever put the order in like you?
Yes, so I did it with the Third Circuit, and the judge took action instantly. And I'm going to do it again next week if she doesn't unseal the things.
Because of the discovery for the chain of custody, if they can't prove that they still have those assets, that's a major problem because, of course, the assets would prove the evidentiary record if they have the servers that this Bitcoin was never mined because they say you stole the money, right? Or they say that this group stole the money.
They have the wallet. They have the invoices. They know what the power bill was. They knew it all.
No, but do they?
Oh, the government does for sure.
Do you think they still have all that material? Because, a lot of times
I can't
that
speak
stuff
for the
gets
government, but I can tell you what, man, if they're so incompetent, man. It's crazy.
You could redemand all your initial discovery because you want duplicates of everything because when you got moved around the country.
The judge needs to order them to do it. And then let's see if they actually do it. I can't get the judge to order them. Now, Magistrate Hammer, he actually answers. And so hopefully he'll start making some rulings now that the new year is over. My parents are elderly and they want to sell their house so they can move into a retirement home. And the house was used as collateral for bail. I had to put up $2 million for bail. So I asked Judge Hammer, can you please release at least their house? You can keep the other properties and what have you up for bail or as collateral. And so he's supposed to reply. The government had their chance to reply on January 9th. And so now hopefully.
So they basically ignore your motions, which for the audience, they have a certain amount of time to respond. I think it's 21 days. That 21 days, if they don't respond, that is found as allegedly on the record as fact. It's kind of like, when if you're in a civil case and you don't respond, they can get a default ruling. So you get a default. So in this case, your demand for discovery, if they don't have a legal argument to say why you shouldn't get the demand for discovery, the judge, if he's doing his job correctly, is just supposed to rule on behalf of Joby, saying, well, the government, because normally what a judge will do, they'll say, well, the government was really busy. It's a complex case. We're going to give them an extra 30 or 60 days. But once that, and that's what judges do a lot of times, they cover up for the Department of Justice. But this is my point. He should get his discovery. They should have to acknowledge where the Bitcoin is. In fact, if they didn't respond to the release of your parents' property under bond, the judge should have ruled on your behalf immediately for your parents and allowed them to sell their house so they can move into a retirement community. This is garbage. And for everybody out there that thinks that, they're changing the crypto rulings, think about this case. Think about how awful this is for Joby, for his family, for his parents. Think about his reputational damage. If that isn't compensatory and punitive damages, I don't know what is. So you guys tell me.
I never thought I'd ever be the poster child for Lawfare, but here I am.
But and never would have thought the way they did it, because none of it had to go like this. You were cooperating. You were trying to give them full transparency on everything you knew about BitClub. The point is, this is not what the legal system portrays itself to be. Because again, the judges are supposed to be unbiased. Joby, do you feel like the judges are unbiased?
They all work for the government.
Thank you. That's who they get their paychecks from. That's for sure.
Truth is treason in an empire of lies, they say.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. And I turned out to be right about Bitcoin. I watched it go from $1 to $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. We saw it hit $100,000. I mean,
and who knows how many Bitcoin you would have mined? You probably would have been the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. They say that one of the reasons, I don't know if you heard this, Joby, George, you and I talked about this the other day about Maduro, that the Maduro raid was, yes, it was about drugs, but it was really probably about Smartmatic, which was a CIA vote flipping software that they were involved with Venezuela on, and they used it around the globe. And of course, there is a story that initially they thought that Maduro had $22 million in Bitcoin. Turns out that the story that is circulating and now seems to be getting marginally authenticated is that he had 600 to 660,000 Bitcoin. So 3% of the world's supply. Of course, the U.S. government wants to seize that.
I know they seized the Tether.
Well, and they seized all the oil. They seized the oil in those tankers. They're keeping that oil.
Wallets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an important thing to remember is Bitcoin. You can't freeze those wallets. It's permissionless, but with Tether, they can come and jack your Tether if they want it.
Yeah. It's nasty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nasty stuff. Who do you think Satoshi Nakamoto is, man?
Well, there's
same people you're fighting. CIA, DOJ.
Yeah.
I have a friend named Steve Narioff, who was one of the founders of Ethereum with Vitalik. Mm-hmm. He came by the other day and told me, he showed me a text message thread with Satoshi. So I guess he's still alive. I was thinking maybe it was Hal Finney, or maybe it was this Pakistani guy that lost his keys and can't get into it. Maybe
I thought it was maybe Paul LaRue. I thought Paul LaRue was
the arms guy that's sitting in jail,
Yeah. I reached out to some people and they say that he is, nobody seems to know him at that prison facility he's in, allegedly.
Yeah.
So is he really in jail? And he had that gambling network. Of course, Bitcoin's got some of that online gambling code in it. I don't know. I'm not sure who
Satoshi
it is.
means Satoshi Nakamoto means intelligence of central origin.
Yeah.
Well,
but the CIA also had that individual, the CIA filed that patent. I think it was a CIA or DIA, the patent on that blockchain technology. And it was an Asian guy whose name was very similar. So I always wonder what his involvement was in it also.
I could show you a text message thread with Satoshi Nakamoto in it with me.
Well,
does it mean it's that person?
Another guy named Todd, Todd White. I don't even know if I should tell this story, but he's a big guy. Washington, D.C. is an advocate, runs a blockchain super PAC and stuff like that.
Okay.
He told me he defended Satoshi quietly. I don't know. I didn't try. Because it's math. I mean, whoever invented it, great, but it doesn't really change anything about how it works. I read Roger Ver's Hijacking Bitcoin book, and I do understand what a threat it is and who's coming out of the woodworks trying to control it.
Well, let me tell you this. The first guy you said he's getting a thread with Satoshi. You might want to tell him that if I get my hands on a quantum computer, I'm going after that wallet.
George has been threatening. He's like, we just need quantum computing.
So according to these guys, he lost his keys. He can't get to his own wallet.
Come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a story about it a couple years back about this Pakistani guy. I think that's actually the guy. I don't know. I spent 5 minutes looking into it, but after Todd told me and after Steve told me that Satoshi lost his keys, it could be.
Man, I
don't buy that, but go ahead.
But it's much like the guy that bought the 2 pizzas. There are regrets. I remember somebody talking to me about the Bitcoin in 2009, and I'll go into that story sometime behind the scenes. I'm not going to do it on air, but it's interesting the loss of access and how that occurs. There are, and I don't know how many wallets. We know about the one in the landfill. We've heard about Satoshi. There are other people that lost their wallets, throughout
everybody. I gave away 10,000 Bitcoins for free. Here's a Bitcoin. Here's a Bitcoin. Here's a Bitcoin. They'll call me later. I lost my phone. How do I get to that Bitcoin you gave me now that it's worth something? You can look at my wallet. I put my name. I did a brute force attack onto my, to generate the wallet. It took me like a week. One of these vanity wallets.
Yeah.
And so it says one Joby Weeks in the wallet, 66,000 Bitcoins, which of course then made me a target because, I was speaking at all the conferences and stuff. And so I got hacked, I got SIM swapped and social engineered and, millions of dollars stolen over and over and over again. And it's crazy because, I went to the FBI and I showed them, this is the dossier of the hacker. He's in the Philippines. He's a tranny lady boy. Got a new set of tits off my Bitcoin. He's like a stalker hacker.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do anything about it. Went to the Philippine FBI. They wouldn't do anything about it. I'm like, why is it that the actual criminals that actually do steal and ruin people's lives, why don't the DOJ go after those guys?
It's interesting. And I've heard the story. We've been dealing with somebody over at Lionsgate Recovery, working on a potential big story about pig butchering. And a big network. And it's interesting that and of course, he's a very smart guy. He's got ties into the Israeli government, got access to intel that maybe other people had. And he's been able to find hacks. Let's say you in the case, Joby, where he's been able to go to the wallet it was initially transferred. And then, of course, be able to find all the wallets it went to, the custodial wallets, and basically knows exactly where the currency went. When he takes these cases, and so he gives all the information, he creates these dossiers, he gives them to the victims contact the FBI, they respond because they have to at this point, because the information is so complete. They'll basically say, oh yeah, we can't get into the chain of custody. So they will only go to the initial wallet and say, oh, that initial wallet's empty. They won't even track it to the wallets that it's transferred to, even when they're given the whole transfer set of details, which just goes to show
FBI is a misprision of a felony, the entire thing.
Yeah, I agree.
They get a Hunter Biden laptop or an Anthony Weiner laptop or a Seth Rich laptop.
Yeah,
they do nothing. They're sitting on all these crimes. They do not. The whole agency is a misprision of a felony. And I actually looked up the FBI. The Congress tried to create the FBI and it wouldn't pass because assassinating sitting presidents and spying on Americans is illegal. So Bonaparte, the Attorney General, was who actually created the FBI in 1908. Yeah. And the FBI is it's a bureau, which means internal. It's only allowed to investigate government and government officers. Yeah. So what they then did was they tricked all American citizens into signing up to become officers of government. So now the FBI can spy on you.
Yeah. And that's the complexity. People don't understand what the nexus is, right? How your passport, your driver's license, how all these connect you.
You brought up passport. The only thing the government actually sent me back, the only thing, they said they're going to send me my Bitcoin. They took bars and boxes of gold and silver and all this stuff. The only thing they sent back so far is my passport.
Yeah. Did they punch a bunch? Did they punch a bunch of holes?
Where was all this? Where was all this stuff? The gold, was it in Mexico?
No, they raided my parents' house. They raided everywhere. And
that's crazy.
I had stuff stored at my parents. They took a whole bunch of my parents' stuff too. It's like, I'm like, can you at least give my parents their stuff back? And so long and the short, they sent me my passport. So I called up my probation officer guy. I'm like, listen, I don't really know what's happening here, but I thought you guys said I was a flight risk. And like, yeah, you are. That's why you're on an ankle bracelet, 24/7 guard. Well, then why are you guys sending me my passport? Are you
What
guys
did he
like
say?
trying to tempt me to flee or something?
What they probably were, but what did he say when you told him that? What did he say?
He said that's no way that happened. I said, absolutely. I showed it to him. I'm like, I'm driving down to the office and I'm giving it to you. I don't want some crazy guy whacking me in the middle of the night saying I was trying to flee. And here's his passport that he had. You know,
What did he say when you
not a
wrote it down in
legal
his-
case. This is a political case. It's not legal. There's guys that are 10 levels above Trump. The guys in the cloud, they're mad that crypto came out and that I was kind of the face of the thing. I mean, I designed the Bitcoin logo that the whole world uses back when nobody knew what a Bitcoin was. And, you know, I went to 175 countries bringing Bitcoin. Now there's 3 point some odd trillion that's left their banking system. And that is now in the crypto. Just go on Coin Market Cap. You can see how it would, you know, it's trillions and trillions of dollars that these guys are out and they're pissed. And I get it. So, you know, that's what can you do? I pissed off the wrong people that are up in the cloud and they're just using their power that they have. You know, they infiltrate all governments. They own the banks that own, you know, the Bank for International Settlements.
There's no doubt because the criminality, what's in your case, if you and I did any of the things that you just described, we would be facing 20, 30, 40 years in federal prison at a minimum. They would just throw the book at
Well, they
us.
threatened me with 25 years, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what they do.
I was like,
It's
for
the
what?
threat.
If I would have murdered someone, I would have gotten 7.
So
Yeah.
So maybe I should have done what I did and murdered someone so I could only get 7 years. Are you guys kidding me? What the hell's the matter with this system?
So
George, go
wait,
ahead.
so you want to go to trial now? Let's go back to that real quick. And what did
Sure.
so the prosecutor says what? They're not ready. They want an extension. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, they just asked for another year. They
And what does
asked
the
for
judge say?
Continuances. The judge keeps granting them continuances.
Is it?
And it's the same boilerplate one. I object to it every time. You guys would laugh your ass off if you read the docket.
Have you put any motions in based like because they keep trying to extend it? Have you put any motions?
I smash everyone. I filed 4 motions a week since last January.
Yeah.
I'm smashing them. Just nonstop. They can't stand me. They absolutely hate me. They hate me so much.
But, you know, really, at the end of the day, that's the only thing you can do is to continue to put the lies and the untruths
yeah,
and the corruption. Because what they're doing is really impermissible under federal law. They're not supposed to do what they're doing. And the judge should recognize that, and he should wash his hands up and say, case dismissed with prejudice. I'm done with this crap. But that's the problem because the judges are conspiring. I don't know if you saw, there was just an announcement how a DOJ prosecutor went in chambers and had a discussion with the judge. And the DOJ just fired this guy because he went in chambers on the Comey case. So the U.S. prosecutor went and had a discussion with the judge secretly and didn't even tell his bosses he did it. And he said, I'm not going to prosecute Comey.
The ex parte. I wrote a 396 doc called an ex parte doc direct to the judge. Oh man, the government, they just don't like me. And I can understand why. I mean, I call them out for all the crimes that they're doing. And anybody that likes law should look it up and just read the docket. I'll put it up on my website once. I mean, the movie's going to be great. I got a docuseries deal, a 2-hour feature film where I wrote a book. We're making the script. It's going to be
That's great. It's exciting stuff.
They hate the false narrative being blown up. Like my son was born at the hospital and a camera crew came down to interview me while I was at the hospital. I gave this great interview. It's about an hour long. They tried to throw me in jail for doing this interview. And, you know, because they're like, well, he got on a computer because I can't have a computer. I can't have a cell phone. I can't.
Really?
A remote control. I can't have a bank account. I can't use crypto. I can't have a job. I can't get fresh air. I can't get sunshine. I can't go to gym where, you know, go to funerals or weddings. I'm drug tested twice a week. I mean, crazy for 6 years.
Yeah, it's retaliatory.
Oh,
It's all about retaliation because they don't like what you stand for. All right, Joby, give them, this is your last shameless plug period here because I know we're running out of time because you got that other appointment. Plug your social media, plug your website, plug everything you want to plug, get it out there, and any message you want to give to the audience about maybe reaching out to their own congressional members, telling them this is bullshit what you did to Joby Weeks. However you want to play it, brother, go for it.
Thanks, Lance. I appreciate it. Listen, I am at peace. I did nothing wrong. All my friends and loved ones know I'm innocent. If you want to help, if you go to freejoby.com and you can, fill out the, sign the petition. I don't know if it will do any good, but the more people that sign it, the more it looks like I have some support. I didn't do any interviews. I didn't do any podcasts for 5 years. My lawyers, David Boies, the Yale Law School's named after him, told me he knows I'm innocent. He knows that I'm innocent, but I'll never beat this thing unless I get 10 million people behind me. Otherwise, I'll just be a martyr. So I was like, oh, so you're telling me there's a chance. So, of course, I fired him. And then I went because I wanted a lawyer that knew I was innocent that was willing to fight for me. And so I went over to Alan Dershowitz, and he's a very famous lawyer, taught at Harvard for
Yeah, we know Dershowitz.
Dershowitz wrote a crypto white paper on this whole Lawfare case, gave it to Ed Barton and Pam Bondi and Alina Habba. And the whole thing lays out. You can see the download for the white paper there if you're interested in all the crypto cases that have taken place. They did a pretty thorough investigation on cases like this. Back when this happened, there was no Goldman Sachs, no BlackRock into Bitcoin. There was no strategic Bitcoin reserve. But now, with the Trump administration, they love it. BlackRock's in, Goldman Sachs is in. So listen,
Jamie Dimon's in. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hey,
Everybody's in.
You shouldn't be wrong. You shouldn't be punished for being right, And so one day I feel like I'll be free. God, is watching over me. He's got my back, and I appreciate all the prayers and support that you can do. I've been living miracle by miracle by miracle.
Yeah.
I've never set up a GoFundMe page. I've never asked for a dime from anybody, and I like puzzles. I like to be challenged, and so it has been an amazing challenge. I always seem to compare my situation to how it could always be worse. So then I'm in an eternal state of gratitude. And so that's how I live my life. And I know love will win. So thanks for having me on to tell the story, bro.
No, we appreciate you, man. I love the transparency. I love your knowledge. And of course, anytime we can expose the injustice that's happening to people within a system that portrays itself to be held to a higher standard, which they aren't. And of course, at the same time, we believe in decentralized finance. We really believe in blockchain. You were a pioneer. I can't imagine what your net worth would be at this point because you were an early stage adopter. It's incredible the damage they've done to you. I hope you get relief. I hope that this relief that you get helps other people that have faced this weaponized department of injustice previously. And there are many of them, many victims out there. We should connect behind the scenes. Joby, also, I'd love to have you on the radio show. George and I were talking about it through text message here. Let's get something planned to get you on the nationally syndicated radio show. I think it'd be a great interview. We'll get it in front of some more eyeballs. So listen, you guys know, if you love this show, you know what to do. Support Joby. Go follow him. Get over there to the Big Mig documentary channel on Rumble. Watch the documentary so you know what you're talking about. This could happen to you. It sounds crazy, but this is what they do. They don't like what he stood for. He stood up for America and for himself and his family. And of course, they had to punish him. And they continue to do so even now. George, what's the last words, baby, on the way out of the gate?
Well, when you think of Joby Weeks, just think about all the J6ers and the shit and injustice they went through. So it's Wednesday. We'll see you at 11 for the Big Mig show. If not, have a blessed day. We'll catch you Friday for the Crypto Power. Later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joby. Well, we'll talk after. Don't go nowhere.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever. Visit CSPOA.org and join the Sheriff's Citizens Posse today. Make a difference. Stand for freedom. That's CSPOA.org. Your country, your fight, your future.
What if you could predict your financial future? And what if you could trade on it? Introducing Block Trust IRA. Assets are protected with military-grade security, offline cold storage, and $200 million in insurance. Visit BlockTrustIRA.com to book your free consultation and ask how to claim up to $2,500 in deposit bonuses today. Bitcoin changed the game. AI changes the strategy.
Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables use in any situation.
Forged through rigorous training and honed by the finest instructors on Earth, these canine units serve beside our nation's warriors as they fight to preserve what we cherish. When these warriors complete their duty, the Warrior Dog Foundation provides them with a home deserving of the service they've given us all. At our state-of-the-art kennels, they receive rehabilitation and care suitable for heroes, because that's what they are. Be a part of giving them a future today. Visit WarriorDogFoundation.org